VTH. I thought about something. Being involved in selling homes, buying homes. And I'm sure many of you have been through the process of what has to take place. There's no way around it. It has to be done. There are step-by-step procedures leading up to the sale of a home. Up until that point, it's called a pending sale. You know, your job is to sell your house yet? You have your closing? That's when you can say you sold your house. As of now, you can't say you sold your house. It's a pending sale. I know a little bit about a little bit due to my ex-wife's nephew, Danny. He tells me, Uncle, and he's told me a lot of circumstances that have happened that he's personally been involved in their real estate agency with the sale of a home. These things have to be done. There's no way around it, Jabba. Starts with a person showing interest and wanting to buy it. They contact the realtor. They put down a binder, another word for deposit, to hold it. To give them time to go to the bank of their choice and apply for a mortgage. The bank will then check out their credit, find out what they have for a down payment, what they're requesting for a mortgage. And then, everything checks out. They are pre-approved for a mortgage, but they don't have the mortgage yet. They're pre-approved. Before they get approved for the mortgage, the bank will now send out an inspector. They want that property checked out. See what kind of condition it's in, from the structure to the roof, if the roof is leaking, if the structure is not solid, plumbing, wiring, water in the basement. In your case, your house is sitting on a concrete slab, there is no basement. Right down to any signs of termite infestation, along with the grounds, the property surrounding the home, what kind of condition everything is in. You want to know that that home has value in it, at least enough value in the money that they're going to be putting out to give a person this mortgage. They feel good about it. Because banks think ahead, They do take into consideration, what if this person now, they're living there a year or two and now they don't pay their mortgage and we're going to foreclose on it. What are we going to get back for a property? Is it going to have any value in it? They think about these things. He said, I've seen mortgages fall through because the home inspection came back bad. Bank said, oh no, we're not going to shell out money for this house that needs water repair. Has termite infestation, the grounds of property itself. Maybe it's got a septic tank in the back and it fucking stinks like hell, and it's like walking on a fucking swamp. It's all backed up, and it costs thousands and thousands and thousands to fix that, you know what I mean? There's a lot that goes into it before you get approved by a bank. Then if everything checks out, then the bank appoints their lawyer. This bit with your lawyer calling you and all that. Lawyers don't contact buyer, seller. They have nothing to do with that. Everything is internal. Their main concern, their contact is with the bank and with the real estate agency. The lawyer's job is to look into the property, look into the deed, look into the records of that property. The bank wants to know if there's any back taxes owed on it that's going to be paid before the transfer of deed can take place. Someone's got to pay those back taxes. If that should pop up, then who's going to pay it? The seller or the buyer? So I've seen mortgages fall through because back taxes and nobody can pay it. Now it's dead property. If there's a lien on the property, if there's a second mortgage they weren't aware of that's not paid off, it's the lawyer's job to look into these things. If he finds everything is okay, inspection comes back okay, then the realtor is contacted. Okay, everything looks good. Let's set up a closing date. That's when everyone gets together. Realtor, bank representative, the lawyer, the buyer, the seller. and everyone puts their John Hancock down on pieces of paper, and that's when the house is sold. Up until then, a home is not sold. It's a pending sale. Java, has any home inspector gone there and checked out your property? The home itself, the surrounding property, the grounds? Have you been given a closing date? Told where to be, when to be there, at what time? For all this to take place at this closing? When is your closing? What day? Come on, tell us. You tell us everything else. Why haven't you told us what day you have to be there for a closing? To finalize a sale and to get your money. What day is that? And this 30-day thing, there are reasons for it. You know, when homes are vacant, there are homes that are for sale. The person, the home's paid for, they bought something else, and the house is empty, they got it on the market. And now everything checks out, they go through a closing, the home is vacant. At that closing, the person's handed the keys. That's how me and my ex-wife bought our first home. The home was vacant. The guy that had, in fact, he worked for Borg Warner. We had a Borg Warner division in the industrial park. They built all the transmission gears and drives for the Oldsmobile and Buick division that used to be in Framingham, Massachusetts. And he got very sick. He was old, and he had no family around here. His wife's family was around here, and his wife had passed away. He was a widower. And his family was in Indiana. His niece moved him out to Indiana, put him in a nursing home, cleared out the house, and the house was sitting there empty. So right after closing, we got the keys. We went straight to the house. In a case where people are still living there, because they want to know their home is sold before they go out and apply for another mortgage and put a down payment on a home or pay first/security on an apartment they're planning on moving into, and then something falls through. Now, what are they going to do? They wait until the home is officially sold, they get their money, and then they do it. And they give you 30 days. Rule of thumb is they'll give you 30 days. That's enough time for a person to find a place to live, move out, clean out the property, and, 30 days. If they don't, it just happened to my ex-brother-in-law. He bought a home, and it was a woman and her son that were living in it. And after 30 days, if they're not out, and they give the buyer a grace period. First 30 days, you don't have a mortgage payment. You start in your second month now. They give you that 30-day grace. That person's not out. Now that person has to pay your mortgage until they leave. And even then, they only give you so much time before they go there and forcibly evict you. That's what happened in his case. She was there for 3 months. And then finally, they went there with a constable with a warrant. They had a big moving van out front with a crew. They made her leave, her son leave, changed the locks, moving crew, and then they took everything out of their house, right down to dishes and the cabinets and clothes in the closet, everything in the basement. They put it in that big moving van. It was taken to a holding facility. And she could only get all her things back when she paid for the move, and when she paid for the locksmith, and when she paid the fee for the constable to go there and serve her an eviction warrant. So there are reasons why there's that 30-day grace. The other 30-day grace is during an eviction for a foreclosure. Now they give you 30 days to get out. You're not out in 30 days, same thing will happen. You're going to get out whether you want to or not. If they have to remove your things, you're going to have to pay the same fees for the cost of the eviction. Removing your property, holding storage until you retrieve it, and the cost of a locksmith and a constable to serve a warrant. You know what I mean? There are different reasons for the same thing. For the time frame and when you got to be out. Quite a big rush now. You haven't closed on this property. You don't even have a closing date, do you? You'd have 30 days after that, so why the big rush now by the end of the month? I'm curious. I'm sure other people are as well. You know. So, and this lawyers do not contact through phone calls or emails or mailing through the postal service with documents. Lawyers do not get in contact with a buyer or a seller. That's all internal. Their only contact is with the bank that a mortgage has been requested from and a realtor. And then once the lawyer gives their findings to the bank, once the home inspector gives his findings to the bank, now they are no longer pre-approved for a mortgage. Now they have the mortgage, and that is relayed to the realtor. Okay, the mortgage is all set. The realtor then relays that to the seller. Okay, everything's all set. Now we have to coordinate a closing when a bank representative can be there. Sometimes they'll have a proxy. They'll have someone, a representative in proxy that has authority to authorize it, put their John Hancock on a document. The lawyer has to put his John Hancock. The buyer, the seller, has to put their John Hancocks on a document. The real estate agent has to put their John Hancock on a document. Then when all that happens, the deed is now sent to the state. They can put it on their records for property sales where it's listed. And they keep a full running history on homes, right down to annual property taxes on it. If the home has been sold, when it was sold, how much it was sold for, when it was bought, how much it was purchased for, if there were liens put on it, if there were foreclosures on the property. All this goes on their records. And it stays there forever, as long as that home is standing. When's your closing date, Jabba? What day do you have to be at this sit-down for this official closing so you can say you sold your house? Because as of now, you haven't sold your house. All you do is talk about how you sold it, but you haven't. And say whatever you want. But the reality is, all these things have to. They have to. There's no way around it. It's a must. All these things have to happen before there is a closing. And only then, at this closing, is it finalized and you can say you sold your house. So please let all of us know what day you have to be there for this closing. And then you can tell us you sold your house. Because up until now, you haven't sold your house. But yet you're going to be out by the end of the month. And you seem to be, I don't want to say it, a little bit of a rush, You're planning way ahead, huh? Even though you would have 30 days, you said you had 30 days to the end. You'd have your 30 days after the closing. So why now? And one other thing, I had heard that you had a guy who was going to go there and put the starter in the Bel Air, and he was going to check out the rocker arms. Okay. Is he going to fix the brakes too? Is he going to do something with that interior that's all chewed up and springs are coming through and the headline is sagging and flopping? Is he going to fix all that for you? Anyway, please let us know. I'm sure you'll have a lot to say, and what you say makes no fucking sense. And keep in mind, the end of the month's going to come. Time waits for no one. The end of the month's going to come, and then we see what you're saying then. We see where you are. We see what stories you are telling. We see what stories you are telling from now until then. If they are consistent, if they continue to change the way your story has changed all the way down the line for months and months and months and months now. Find out if you finally got your disability approved and you're getting your money. I'm sure all these things will come out. You'll be chomping at the bit to tell everybody, right? Right? Anyway, I gotta get going. Looking at the time here. See you again this week.